Commander Sarah Chen looked out of the spaceship's window. The Earth was getting smaller behind them. The moon was getting bigger in front. Sarah felt excited. This was her first time leading a mission to the moon. "How are we doing, Mike?" Sarah asked her co-pilot. Mike checked the screens in front of him. "All systems are good, Commander. We'll reach the moon in 6 hours." Sarah nodded. She had trained for years for this moment. The mission was simple: go to the moon, check the equipment at the base, and come back. Nothing they hadn't done before. But space was never truly safe. Sarah knew this. She always stayed alert. 3 hours into the flight, Sarah noticed something odd on her screen. "Mike, are you seeing this?" Mike leaned over. His eyes went wide. "That's not possible. The sun isn't due for a flare today." But the readings didn't lie. A massive solar flare was heading their way. Sarah's mind raced. Solar flares could damage their ship's electronics. They needed to act fast. "Everyone, listen up." Sarah's voice rang through the ship. "We have an emergency. Secure all stations and prepare for impact." The crew jumped into action. They had practiced this, but never thought they'd need to use it. Sarah felt proud of how quickly they moved. Just as they finished preparations, the flare hit. The ship shook. Lights flickered. Alarms blared. "Report," Sarah shouted over the noise. "Navigation is down." Mike yelled back. "We're flying blind." Sarah's stomach dropped. Without navigation, they couldn't steer. They were at the mercy of space. "Engines?" Sarah asked, hoping for some good news. "Running, but we can't control them," the engineer shouted. Sarah's mind raced. They were moving fast, with no way to stop or change direction, and they were headed straight for the moon. "Everyone, brace for crash landing," Sarah ordered. She strapped herself in tight. The moon filled their view now. Its gray, cratered surface rushed towards them. Sarah tried to think of a way out, but there was nothing she could do. For the first time in her career, she felt helpless. The ship entered the moon's thin atmosphere. Fire surrounded them as they fell. The heat was intense. Sweat poured down Sarah's face. "Impact in 30 seconds, Mike shouted. Sarah closed her eyes. She thought of her family back on Earth. Would she ever see them again? The ship hit the moon's surface with a deafening crash. Metal screamed as it bent and broke. Sarah felt a sharp pain in her head. Then everything went black. When Sarah opened her eyes, she was still in her seat, but the ship around her was destroyed. Moonlight streamed in through a huge hole in the wall. "Mike, anyone?" Sarah called out. No one answered. She tried to move, but pain shot through her body. Her spacesuit was damaged. The air was leaking out slowly. Sarah knew she had to act fast. With great effort, she unstrapped herself. She floated in the low gravity towards the hole in the ship. Outside, she saw only the stark lunar landscape. No sign of her crew. No sign of help. Her radio crackled. "Mayday, Mayday," she spoke into it. "This is Commander Sarah Chen. We've crashed on the moon. Need immediate rescue." Only static answered her. Sarah's breath was getting short. Her oxygen was running out. She looked up at the Earth, so beautiful and so far away. As her vision began to fade, Sarah saw something impossible. A figure, tall and shimmering, was walking towards her across the airless lunar surface. "I must be dying," Sarah thought. Then everything went dark again. Little did Sarah know, her adventure was just beginning, and humanity's place in the universe was about to change forever. Sarah's eyes fluttered open. She was lying on something soft. This wasn't the hard surface of the moon. Was it all a dream? She tried to sit up. Pain shot through her body. Not a dream, then. "Please, do not move," a voice said. It didn't sound human. Sarah's eyes adjusted to the dim light. She was in a strange room. The walls glowed softly. There was no furniture, just the soft surface she was lying on. Then she saw the figure standing near her. It was tall, at least 7 feet. Its skin shimmered like silver. It had no hair, and its eyes were large and dark. Sarah's heart raced. This was an alien. A real alien. Who? What are you? Sarah asked. Her voice was weak. I am Zarek, the alien said. Its voice was gentle. I found you on the surface. You were dying. Sarah's mind whirled. She remembered the crash, the pain, the lack of oxygen. Then seeing a figure walking towards her. My crew, Sarah said suddenly. Where are they? Zarek's face showed sadness. At least Sarah thought it was sadness. I am sorry. You were the only one I found alive. Sarah felt a wave of grief. Mike, the others, all gone. She had failed them as a commander. How? How did you save me? Sarah asked, fighting back tears. Our technology is advanced, Zarek said. We healed your injuries, but you must rest now. Sarah had so many questions, but she felt tired. Her eyes started to close. When she woke again, she felt stronger. Zarek was still there, watching her. Where am I? Sarah asked. How long have I been here? You are in our outpost, Zarek said, on what you call the far side of the moon. You have been here for 3 Earth days. Sarah sat up slowly. This time, there was no pain. She looked at her arms. The cuts and bruises from the crash were gone. Why haven't we seen you before? Sarah asked. How long have you been here? Zarek seemed to hesitate. We have been observing Earth for a long time. Centuries, in your measure of time. Sarah's mind raced. Aliens had been watching Earth for centuries. It was hard to believe. Why haven't you made contact? She asked. It is complicated, Zarek said. Some of us believe humans are not ready. Others disagree. Sarah thought about this. She wanted to argue that humans were ready. But after seeing this advanced technology, she wasn't so sure. What happens now? Sarah asked. That is what we must decide, Zarek said. Your arrival has forced our hand. We can no longer simply observe. Sarah stood up. She felt dizzy for a moment, then steady. I need to contact Earth. They must be looking for us. Zarek nodded. Yes, they are searching. But they cannot see this outpost. We have hidden it well. Sarah felt a mix of emotions. Relief that she was alive. Sadness for her lost crew. Excitement about meeting aliens. And worry about what would happen next. Can you show me your outpost? Sarah asked. She was curious to see more of this alien technology. Zarek seemed to smile. At least Sarah thought it was a smile. Of course. Follow me. As they walked out of the room, Sarah gasped. The hallway was huge, curving gently. The walls glowed with soft light, just like in the room. Other aliens moved about, all similar to Zarek. They all stopped to look at Sarah. She felt very small and very human. Welcome, Zarek said, to our home on the moon. Sarah took a deep breath. She knew that whatever happened next would change everything. For her, for humanity, and maybe for the whole universe. As she followed Zarek, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, was she the first human to see all this? And what would happen when the rest of humanity found out? The adventure was just beginning. Sarah followed Zarek through the winding corridors of the alien base. Every step brought new wonders. The walls seemed alive, changing colors softly as they walked. Other aliens moved aside, watching Sarah with big, curious eyes. This is amazing, Sarah said, her voice full of awe. How long have you been here? Zarek's silver skin shimmered as it turned to answer. We established this outpost 500 Earth years ago, but we have been watching your planet for much longer. Sarah's mind reeled. Aliens had been on the moon since before the first telescope was invented on Earth. They entered a large room. It looked like a control center, with screens showing Earth from different angles. Sarah saw her home planet, beautiful and blue, and felt a pang of homesickness. This is where we monitor Earth, Zarek explained. We have learned much about humans from here. Sarah looked at the screens, fascinated. Then a thought struck her. Wait, if you've been watching this, why didn't you stop our ship from crashing? Zarek's face showed what Sarah thought might be regret. We have strict rules about interfering. We could not prevent the crash without revealing ourselves. But you saved me, Sarah pointed out. Yes, Zarek said. That decision was controversial. Some of us felt we could no longer stand by and watch. Sarah felt a mix of gratitude and unease. These aliens had been debating her fate while she lay unconscious. So what happens now? Sarah asked. Will you take me back to Earth? Zarek was quiet for a moment. It's not that simple. Your presence here has created a complex situation. Before Sarah could ask what that meant, alarms started blaring. The screens in the control room flashed red. What's happening? Sarah asked, alarmed. Zarek moved quickly to a console. Its long fingers danced over the controls. There's a problem with our main power core. It's becoming unstable. Other aliens rushed into the room, talking in a language Sarah couldn't understand. She felt useless and out of place. Then she noticed something on one of the screens. It showed a diagram of what must be the power core. Sarah's eyes widened. The design looked similar to something she had worked on back on Earth. I think I can help, Sarah said suddenly. All the aliens turned to look at her. Zarek seemed surprised. How? Sarah pointed at the screen. This looks like an advanced version of a fusion reactor we've been developing. I've worked on something similar. The aliens looked at each other, seeming unsure. Sarah felt a surge of determination. This was her chance to prove that humans could be useful to these advanced beings. Please, let me try, Sarah said. What have you got to lose? After a moment, Zarek nodded. Very well. Follow me. They rushed through more corridors, finally entering a large chamber. In the center was a glowing pillar of energy. It pulsed erratically, sending out waves of heat. Sarah's mind raced. The system was more advanced than anything she'd seen, but the principles seemed similar. She started giving suggestions, explaining how they might stabilize the core. At first, the aliens seemed skeptical. But as Sarah's ideas started to work, their doubt turned to surprise, then respect. For hours, Sarah worked alongside the aliens. Despite the language barrier and the advanced technology, they found a way to communicate and cooperate. Finally, the core stabilized. The alarms stopped. A feeling of relief washed over the room. Zarek turned to Sarah, its big eyes showing what she thought might be admiration. You have done well, Sarah Chen. Perhaps we have underestimated humans. Sarah felt a surge of pride, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. We may not be as advanced as you, she said, but we're good at solving problems. It's how we've survived this long. Zarek nodded. Indeed, it seems we have much to learn from each other. As the aliens began to clean up, Sarah realized something had changed. She was no longer just a rescued human. She had become a valuable ally. And perhaps Sarah thought, this was the first step towards a new relationship between humans and these mysterious aliens. The future suddenly seemed full of exciting possibilities. After helping with the power core, Sarah's status among the aliens changed. They started to treat her with respect, almost as an equal. Zarek decided it was time to show Sarah more of their hidden lunar colony. Come, Zarek said, leading Sarah to a large round platform. There is much more to see. As they stepped onto the platform, it began to move downward. Sarah realized it was an elevator, taking them deep into the moon. How far down does this go? Sarah asked, amazed. Several kilometers, Zarek answered. Our colony extends far beneath the moon's surface. The elevator stopped, and the doors opened to reveal a breathtaking sight. They were in an enormous cavern, so large Sarah couldn't see the other side. The ceiling glowed with soft light, like an artificial sky, and everywhere there was life. Alien buildings of strange, flowing shapes, parks with plants Sarah had never seen before. In the distance, she could see what looked like farms. "This is incredible," Sarah breathed. "How many of you live here?" "About 10,000, Zarek said. "This is one of our smaller colonies." Sarah's mind spun. Smaller colonies. How many were there? As they walked through the alien city, Sarah saw more of Zarek's people going about their daily lives. Some looked at her curiously, but most seemed used to her presence now. They came to a large building that looked like it was made of crystal. Inside, Sarah saw what appeared to be classrooms. Young aliens sat at desks, looking at holographic displays. "This is where we teach our young about the universe," Zarek explained, "including Earth." Sarah watched as one class studied a 3D model of the solar system. Another was looking at images of Earth's animals. "You know so much about us," Sarah said, "yet we know nothing about you." Zarek nodded. "That has been our way for a long time. We observe, we learn, but we do not interfere." "But why?" Sarah asked. "Think of all humanity could learn from you." Zarek was quiet for a moment. "Not all encounters between advanced civilizations and less developed ones end well. We have seen it happen many times across the galaxy." Sarah thought about Earth's own history, about colonization and war. She understood the aliens' caution. They continued their tour, coming to a large open area. In the center was a huge holographic display of the Milky Way galaxy. "This is our galactic monitoring station," Zarek said. "From here, we can observe much of what happens in our part of the galaxy." Sarah stared at the display in awe. Thousands of stars and planets, all moving slowly in their cosmic dance. Then she noticed something strange. "What's that?" she asked, pointing to a dark area at the edge of the display. Zarek's expression became serious. "That is what we call the void, a region of space where stars are going dark." "Going dark? How?" Sarah asked, alarmed. "We don't know," Zarek admitted, "but it's spreading. Slowly, but steadily." Sarah felt a chill. The universe suddenly seemed a lot more dangerous. "Is Earth in danger?" she asked. "Not immediately," Zarek said, "but in time, perhaps. It's one of the reasons we've been debating whether to contact humanity officially." Sarah's mind raced. This was bigger than she could have imagined. Her crash landing on the moon wasn't just about her anymore. It could be the start of something that would affect all of humanity. "We need to warn Earth," Sarah said firmly. "We need to prepare." Zarek looked at her, its large eyes unreadable. "Perhaps you're right, but such a decision cannot be made lightly. It would change everything, for both our peoples." As they stood there, looking at the galaxy map with its ominous dark patch, Sarah realized her adventure was far from over. In fact, it might be just the beginning of humanity's greatest challenge. And somehow, she knew she would play a crucial role in what was to come. The next few days were a whirlwind for Sarah. She spent hours in the alien labs, learning about their technology and sharing what she knew about human science. The aliens were curious about Earth's ways, especially how humans solved problems. One day, Zarek approached Sarah with a worried look. "We have a situation," it said. "Our long-range scanner is malfunctioning. We can't see beyond our solar system." Sarah followed Zarek to a large room filled with complex machines. In the center was a device that looked like a giant telescope, but far more advanced. "This is our quantum entanglement scanner," Zarek explained. "It allows us to observe distant parts of the galaxy instantly, but it's not working." Sarah looked at the machine. It was way beyond anything she had seen on Earth, but as she studied it, she began to see familiar patterns. "Can I take a closer look?" she asked. Zarek nodded, though some other aliens looked skeptical. Sarah spent hours examining the scanner. She asked questions, made diagrams, and thought hard. The aliens watched, curious but doubtful. Finally, Sarah had an idea. "I think I know what's wrong," she said, "and I might know how to fix it." The aliens listened as Sarah explained her theory. She used simple terms, comparing the complex quantum mechanics to things they all understood. "It's like a garden hose with a kink in it," she said. "The data is trying to flow, but it's getting stuck. We need to unkink the hose." The aliens looked at each other, surprised by this simple analogy for their complex problem. Sarah's solution was unconventional. It involved using materials in ways the aliens hadn't considered. Some of the alien scientists disagreed, saying it couldn't work. But Zarek, remembering how Sarah had helped with the power core, decided to let her try. For the next 2 days, Sarah worked tirelessly. She used tools she had never seen before, guided by the aliens but relying on her own intuition and problem-solving skills. Finally, it was time to test her fix. The room was tense as they powered up the scanner. At first, nothing happened. The aliens began to murmur disappointedly. But Sarah held up her hand. "Wait," she said. "Give it a moment." Suddenly, the scanner hummed to life. The big screen in front of them lit up, showing crystal-clear images of distant stars and planets. The aliens erupted in excited chatter. Zarek turned to Sarah, its eyes shining with what she now recognized as joy. "You did it," Zarek said. "You fixed something even we couldn't understand." Sarah felt a surge of pride, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. "We might not have your advanced technology," she said, "but humans are good at thinking outside the box. We find solutions in unexpected places." Zarek nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps this is why the universe needs diversity. Different species think in different ways. Together, we can solve problems that alone we cannot." As the aliens celebrated and began using the fixed scanner, Sarah realized something important had changed. The aliens were no longer just observing humans. They were learning from them. Later, Sarah overheard 2 aliens talking. "Maybe we've been wrong about humans," one said. "They're more capable than we thought." "Yes," the other replied. "Perhaps it's time we reconsidered our policy of non-interference." Sarah smiled to herself. Her crash landing on the moon was turning into something much bigger. It was becoming a bridge between 2 civilizations. As she looked at the scanner showing distant worlds, Sarah wondered what other challenges lay ahead. But now she felt confident. Humans and aliens, working together, could face whatever the universe threw at them. The adventure was far from over. In fact, it felt like it was just beginning. Sarah was in the alien control room, watching the newly fixed long-range scanner. She had been there for hours, fascinated by the views of distant stars and planets. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Zarek rushed into the room. "What's happening?" it asked. One of the alien technicians pointed at the screen. "We're detecting a large energy signature at the edge of the void." Sarah remembered the dark area in space Zarek had shown her earlier. "What does that mean?" she asked. Zarek's face turned grim. "It means something is coming out of the void. Something big." The room buzzed with nervous energy as more aliens arrived. They spoke quickly in their own language, sounding worried. "Can you show me what it is?" Sarah asked. The technician zoomed in on the energy signature. Sarah gasped. On the screen was a massive object, unlike anything she had ever seen. It looked like a giant metal spider, with long legs stretching out into space. "What is that thing?" Sarah whispered. Zarek's voice was low and serious. "We call them the Devourers. They consume everything in their path. Planets, stars, even whole solar systems." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "Are they alive?" "We don't know," Zarek said. "They might be living creatures, or they might be machines. All we know is that they're incredibly dangerous." Another alarm sounded. The technician looked up, fear in its big eyes. "The Devourer. It's changing course. It's heading towards our solar system." The room erupted in panic. Aliens ran back and forth, shouting orders and checking data. Sarah's mind raced. "How long until it gets here?" she asked. Zarek did some quick calculations. At its current speed, about 6 Earth months. 6 months. It seemed like a long time, but Sarah knew it wasn't. Not for something this big. We need to warn Earth, Sarah said firmly. Zarek hesitated. Sarah, you don't understand. If we reveal ourselves to warn Earth, it will change everything. Your people aren't ready for this knowledge. Sarah felt anger rising inside her. Ready or not, we have a right to know. This thing is a threat to all of us. The other aliens watched this exchange, looking unsure. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to calm down. She remembered how she had solved problems before, by thinking differently. Look, she said, I know you're worried about how humans will react. But think about it this way. You need our help. The aliens looked surprised. Zarek tilted its head. What do you mean? You've been watching us for centuries, Sarah explained. You've seen how quickly we adapt, how we solve problems in ways you don't expect. If we're going to fight this thing, you need that. You need human ingenuity. The aliens looked at each other, murmuring. Sarah could see they were considering her words. Plus, Sarah added, Earth has resources. We have billions of people who, if warned, could help prepare. We might not have your technology, but we have numbers and determination. Zarek was quiet for a long moment. Finally, it nodded. You make strong points, Sarah Chen. Perhaps it is time we changed our approach. Sarah felt a wave of relief, but she knew this was just the beginning. So what's our next step? She asked. Zarek turned to the other aliens. Prepare a ship. We're going to Earth. As the aliens rushed to follow orders, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and fear. She was going home, but not in the way she had expected. She was bringing news that would change her world forever. Looking at the image of the devourer on the screen, Sarah knew the biggest challenge was yet to come. But for the first time, she felt hope. Humans and aliens working together. Maybe they had a chance after all. The journey back to Earth would be the start of humanity's greatest adventure. And Sarah was right at the center of it all. The alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere, cloaked to avoid detection. Sarah's heart raced as she saw her home planet growing larger through the view screen. After weeks in space, they were finally here. Are you ready? Zarek asked. Sarah nodded, though she felt anything but ready. How do you tell the world that aliens exist and a giant space monster is coming to eat everything? They landed in a remote area, far from any cities. Sarah stepped out onto Earth's soil for the first time in months. The air smelled sweet. She wanted to enjoy it, but there was no time. Let's go, she said to Zarek. Take us to the United Nations. Hours later, Sarah stood before the UN Security Council. The room was in chaos. World leaders shouted questions, security guards looked nervous, and cameras flashed constantly. Please, Sarah said, her voice shaking a little. I know this is hard to believe, but you have to listen. She told them everything. Her crash on the moon, the alien base, and the coming threat of the devourers. Zarek stood beside her, a living proof of her incredible story. We have 6 months, Sarah finished. 6 months to prepare for a threat unlike anything humanity has ever faced. The room was silent for a moment. Then it exploded into noise again. This is ridiculous, one leader shouted. It must be a hoax. How can we trust these aliens? Another demanded. Sarah felt despair creeping in. They weren't listening. Then a quiet voice spoke up. I believe her, said the Secretary General. The room fell silent. Think about it. Commander Chen was presumed dead. Now she's here, with an alien, telling us about a threat that could end our world. Why would she lie? Slowly, the mood in the room changed. Questions became more serious. Plans started to form. Over the next weeks, the world transformed. The existence of aliens was revealed to the public. There was fear and confusion, but also hope and excitement. Sarah worked tirelessly, bridging the gap between humans and aliens. Scientists from Earth worked with alien technology, learning and adapting at an incredible pace. New weapons were developed, space stations were built, the whole world united with a single purpose: survival. But it wasn't just about fighting. Zarek's people shared their knowledge of the universe. Schools taught alien languages. Art and music blended human and alien styles. A new culture was born. As the months passed, Earth changed more than it had in centuries. Pollution decreased as alien clean energy technology was adopted. Diseases were cured with advanced medical knowledge. Poverty began to disappear as resources were shared more equally. Finally, the day came. The Devourer entered the solar system, but Earth was ready. A fleet of ships, built with a mix of human innovation and alien technology, met the threat head-on. The battle was fierce. At times, it seemed hopeless. But then something amazing happened. The human pilots, with their unexpected tactics, confused the Devourer. Alien weapons, powered by human-developed energy sources, pierced its defenses. After days of fighting, the Devourer was destroyed. Earth had won. In the years that followed, humanity took its place among the stars. With their new alien allies, they explored the galaxy, facing new challenges and making new discoveries. Sarah often thought back to that day she crashed on the moon. What had seemed like the end had really been a beginning of a new age for humanity. As she watched a group of human and alien children playing together in a park, Sarah smiled. The future was bright, full of possibilities she could never have imagined. And it all started with a crash landing on the moon.